So is capitalism dead?
No. Look, I think what you're seeing both from Benioff, from Warren, from Andrew Yang with his universal basic income are the introduction of concepts that have their supporters, have some merits to it, but the time between when that idea gets floated out there by a politician or a CEO and it becomes public policy and law, I think we're looking at a period of years at least.
Are we talking about really economic stratification and lack of mobility? It's arguably harder to move from one economic rung to another. Is that what's at the core of this, do you think, and what's the solution?
Yeah, I mean, look, people are frustrated, and people at both sides of the equation have figured that out. If you look at now the two front runners, it's Donald Trump and Elizabeth Warren. They're both populists in their own way, but in many ways they're saying similar things, right? Which is the system is screwing you over, and I'm going to protect you, and I'm going to get vengeance for you. They obviously disagree on a lot, but that's really appealing. That frustration is not going away anytime soon. So I think where a guy like Benioff is insightful is he recognizes that if you just keep the status quo going indefinitely, the guillotines are going to show up sooner or later. So you've got to change course at some point. But the distinction between Warren saying, I'll make Jeff Bezos pay $8 billion a year, and the reality of it is still pretty significant.
So then is the wealth tax an unrealistic way to try and, I guess, sort of level the playing field for economic inequality?
It depends what you're trying to solve for, right? If you're trying to say, I just want some people to have less money, then a wealth tax would do a good job of taking money away. If you say, I want a wealth tax to fund universal health care, universal college, wherever it is, you can create a government program, you can fund it. Whether it actually is then effective is another story. And the reality is government's neither as bad as the Republicans say it is, nor as good as the Democrats say it is. There are some programs like Medicare that work pretty well, but if you look at the average graduation rate for community colleges, it's below 20%. So, just putting more money into something that doesn't solve it, and just keeping money in the private sector doesn't solve it either.
Do you think it would dampen innovation and lessen the incentives for entrepreneurs like Bezos, like Jeff Gates? I mean, Warren has said, look, Jeff Bezos would have started Amazon even if we had a wealth tax. Yeah. Do you think that's true?
I mean, while I'm reluctant to agree with Elizabeth Warren, I do think she's right, because ultimately Jeff Bezos said this because he wants to create, he wants to change something, he wants to take down the status quo.
So that innovation machine in America, you don't think would be effective?
I'm not really. Like, I invest in early stage startups, and these founders that we're investing in have a big idea, and they're trying to change an entire industry, and they're not really thinking about what a 2% wealth tax would impact them post an IPO or an acquisition.
But they do have aspirations to get wealthy.
For sure. But how would they get wealthy by not innovating?
I agree. I'm just saying that the incentive is eroded at the margin.
Maybe.
I'm not going to be as wealthy.
I think that, or where it is at a certain point, you question, like, for example, my company is based here in New York City. We pay really high taxes. I pay 100% of all of my employees' benefits. There is a point where I say to myself, do I want to keep hiring people and keep growing this thing if the incremental profit keeps going down?
This is my question to you, because we've seen state migration is a statement by some wealthy people right now.
Yeah, and that is different from saying I'm just going to stop working. I mean, the Warren's advisors figured that the optimal tax rate for the wealthy before they decide, look, it's not worth working anymore, is 75%. So we've got a long way to go between 37 and 75%, which is the point at which most economists determine the wealthy just say, look, it's not worth it. It's not worth innovating. It's not worth working. I'm moving to Florida and retiring.
Robert, at what point do you think we can say that the culture, the political culture, has really shifted, changed? Because, I was listening to that Democratic debate, very little talk about small business, about entrepreneurs, about aspiring to create and employ. It was about these people have the money and we're going to get it from them. It seemed different.
I've been thinking a lot about that, John. And remember when Warren said in the debate that basically, I don't have a beef with billionaires, but we built the roads, we made the schools, we fund all the things that got you there. Well, that was word for word what Obama said and got scorched for it. She said it and no one paid attention. And I think the extent to which the crisis has changed people's fundamental view of the wealthy has continued into today. And I think the electorate is very populist now. The fact that Warren is where she is a reflection of that. I think this election is going to be as much about wealth and the wealthy as it is about all these other policies.